All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a lot of interest in this live interview with Carrie Madej. And Carrie, thank you so much for coming on. I guess I hadn't got to ask you, where are you coming from? Where are you at
Um,
today?
I'm in Georgia. I was
You're,
just on the road traveling, but I'm back in Georgia right now.
well, we're so thankful that you're here because I know another time I talked to you and you were overseas.
I was overseas, yes.
Mhm. Yeah. So we again want to thank you for coming. We've got a few more people coming on, just give them a little bit of time there. But we are going to be talking a little bit today about frequencies in our electromagnetic bodies and talking about so many ideas, but mostly we want to visit with Carrie about her story. So you can look on her website and see so many ideas, but the ones that really personally touched me and, that I connected with is that she graduated from Kansas City, right?
Yes, I went to medical school there, osteopathic school. And so that's a more holistic kind of ideology, philosophy. So body, mind, and spirit. And so I guess that helped me to understand more and be more open-minded about different ways of how our body can heal. And so I'm really grateful that I got that education. So yeah, that kind of started me off, and I still have a heart for Kansas City. Yeah.
Great. And that's where I'm from. And that's where I practiced some alternative natural healing and developed the ideas for the WAVwatch 15 years ago. So that was an immediate spark. And then the other thing that I saw in your bio, Carrie, is that you think physicians should be teachers of
Yeah.
health.
Yes.
And that really spoke to me too.
I told people, the greatest compliment to me is when you don't need to see me anymore. I think it's crazy because in medical school they brainwash doctors into thinking that there's competition, there's not enough work for all of us. It's actually purposeful, and so they think that they have to keep repeating the customers when we really don't. And so, we should be teachers of health, and we should not be afraid of someone being able to take care of themselves. And so I think that with all that's going on with the COVID fiasco, that people are starting to see what's really going on in the medical industrial complex. And, and I think a lot of doctors' eyes are being opened as well, and nurses, so that the good silver lining is that we're starting to see how we can really heal our own bodies. So I feel that that's a good thing. It's a whole new paradigm opening up now.
And, we're just mirror images on that because I was a former teacher. And that's what I segued into when both my mother and sister developed breast cancer at the same time, because my doctors just told me to have a double mastectomy and forget about it, although I had nothing going on. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years. And that is teaching, educating people on different ideas. So once again, welcome. And I know everything's just going to flow. We've got so much to talk about today. So we probably should start with a big disclaimer here. We are working with the WAVwatch and ideas about frequencies today. So the WAVwatch offers low risk acoustical frequency products, and this promotes self-care, teaching, education, helping to maintain or encourage good health or reduce the impact or risk of some chronic diseases and conditions where self-care has been shown to play an important role in improving quality of life and living well. Sorry to be reading that word for word, but I was told maybe that I need to do that. The WAVwatch is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. WAVwatch is not a licensed medical product, and all acoustical frequencies are considered experimental. The WAVwatch is not FDA approved or considered a medical device. Testimonies are strictly voluntary, and no one has been reimbursed for any testimonies. And the last one, the WAVwatch website refers to commonly used names of disease only in relation to their sound frequencies, and it's not a medical diagnosis. So thank you for letting me share that important disclaimer as we get started. So to go ahead, Would you mind sharing what you think has been the most important ideas that you've shared, or what's happened in your life that you want to share with people over the last couple of years? You have done so much. I couldn't even figure out how to,
Yeah.
put it in a bullet form. It's like, oh my goodness. So I think, is there something that's near and dear to your heart or passionate that you want to share with us today?
Yes, I think I've been through quite a bit, but
Yes.
I think that everything happens for a reason. Nothing is by coincidence or accident. And I've always been an advocate for patients. I believe in I go by God's law first and foremost. Nothing supersedes God's law. And one of that is sanctity of life. And so I always defend, what the patient's interests are and the sanctity of life. And so in doing that, I'm looking for the root causes of what makes somebody sick and their health. And so when you're really looking at how to heal people, and I think a lot of people probably listening could agree with this, the powers that be that make money off of us, they don't like people like me, or like people like Linda. And, they want making people or having people sick and maintaining their sickness, their illness is the biggest industry out there, actually. And so I'm used to going up against, people that and government entities that want people like me not to help people out. So what I'm saying is I'm used to going up against the medical boards and going up against CDC and FDA and those kinds of things, because they don't want people to know about how to be really healthy. And that's sad, but this is the case. So a lot of my colleagues and I who spoke out about they're falsely called vaccines. I did research with these vaccines, meaning I looked at them under the microscope to see what was really inside of them, the COVID shots. And I reported on that to a lot of people. And of course, I got a lot of threats. As you can imagine, a lot of my colleagues have gotten a lot of threats. And it's a really dangerous business when you do that. So about 2 years ago now, I was in a private plane, and it was crashed here in Georgia, Warm Springs, Georgia. And it's a miracle that I am here talking. It's a miracle that I'm walking. I was, there was a pilot and we survived, and I was supposed to be paralyzed. But I remember this in the trauma bay where I was, on pain medicine. And they were talking about a woman that was likely going to be paralyzed. And I'm like, well, I was in a plane crash in my mind, but at least I'm not her. And then I realized they were talking about me. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I said, that is not my history. That is not my story, because it's the power of your mind, the power of your thoughts that can change the trajectory of your life. And surely enough, 2 hours later, the neurosurgeons came back I was in the intensive care unit then, and they were confused. And they said, well, we don't know what happened, but I guess we all looked at your scans wrong because you're not going to be paralyzed. And they came in to look at me because neuro checks every 10 minutes. There's a neuro check. And a lot of I couldn't even open my eyes at this time, but I remember the nurse coming in, pushing my foot, thinking, I have to show her, I have to prove to her that I am not going to be paralyzed. And with all of my might, I was pushing back, and I could remember them confused. They're like, you have the wrong foot, you have the wrong one. And I really believe in the power of our minds, the power of our thoughts. And also people found out that we were in the plane crash, so they started praying. And again, I think the power of prayer is important too. So, and I was able to, not do the traditional way of medicine. I still had to have surgery because of the crash. But when I was home, I was using different modalities of healing my body. Some were pulse electromagnetic frequency. One was called a Juvent plate, a low vibrational plate that doesn't go over 0.3 Gs to stimulate by bone marrow. But of course, power of prayer and things like that. And I mean, it is amazing right now because I walk without a limp. I am now starting to jump. I had 5 vertebral fractures. I had, a hand fracture. My leg was crushed in pins and plates. And here I am, and I'm a walking testimony to how we can heal our body in different ways. So happy to be with you, Linda, and excited to share about the power of sound frequency too.
And like everybody in the chat is kind of saying, like, praise God, thank you for prayer, and that you are such a strong prayer warrior, and just really, some of your shows are just amazing. I remember one that I'd seen, I think it was a couple of years ago, Truth and Freedom. And, you're really working and telling people a whole list of ideas and backing it up. And you have that ability to back things up with such good information. And here you are backing up your healing and knowing exactly where that healing came from and what you did. And so thank you for sharing that. Now, it seems to me like there was a lot of problems with the plane crash and it going down. I didn't know if you wanted to go there or anything, but or people had seen that, but that was.
Sure. So I was alluding to in the beginning about once you start talking about what really makes us sick and what really can heal us, you're going to be attacked. And I was attacked in many ways. In fact, my story started way before COVID. I had a really great clinic here in Georgia, and I loved it. We had a great team of people working, and I'm internal medicine, so I loved puzzling out the most complicated problems. And people came from different states even, and occasionally even different countries, and never charged them. I wasn't concierge. I never charged them a lot of money for that. And so a lot of people didn't have their diseases. I hate to say cure because I don't take responsibility for that. I believe the Lord heals us. But what I was learning too, and through the patients, was that, wow, just about anything has a reason of why we're ill, and that we don't need to be sick. We don't need cancer. We don't need to have even autism and things like this. We don't, and actually even psychiatric disorders usually have organic causes, meaning physical causes even. Wow. And that was amazing to me. And so when I was uncovering these things and also discovering things that were gain of function or those things that were made in the lab, I realized that they were testing things out even here in Georgia because, the CDC is in our backyard here, right? And I'm really good at pattern recognition. So when doing that, I was able to look at patterns and see the day something started and the day something ended. The day something started, the day something ended. Wow. Well, that isn't nature, is it? Mm-hmm. That's something that is induced upon us. And because of, then when I was doing that, I was able to back it up with scientific laboratory work, blood work, evidence. And so here I was a little naive going, oh, look what I found. And I was able to find the cause. No. When I was looking at things like this, that started one day and ended the other day, like Rocky Mountain spotted fever, ehrlichiosis, Lyme disease, mycoplasma pneumoniae, all of these have actually been declared as bioweapons, actually gain of function organisms. They're not natural in nature. And so when I was looking at this and diagnosing this, wow, red alarms went off. So the public health department, also the CDC was all of a sudden all over my clinic and me. And also a federal agent was following me at that point. And so all of a sudden my life turned into, it actually was like a nightmare because I was just trying to help people. I thought I was doing something good. I was being a good doctor. And all of a sudden I started to get harassment and threats about don't diagnose these people, stop running the test on them. And it was that was my introduction to the world, actually. So yeah. And so this went on, and I'm going to shorten the story because we don't have enough time. But at some point, what I was also doing with mycoplasma pneumoniae, I was able to find out ways our bodies could clear it out because I was doing before and after laboratory work. And I got some great education there in Kansas City, by the way. So a lot of my ability to understand what to do, I have to give credit to my teachers, my attendings at the school there. Anyhow, the CDC researcher was actually interested, how did I clear out this mycoplasma pneumonia completely from the body? Because I was getting before and after labs. And I put everything in my notes, but I didn't exactly tell them directly, right? They'd have to figure it out. And so at some point I was being recruited, I didn't know, to these different organizations. And in these organizations here, they were talking about the plan for the near future of all of us. One of them was right here in Atlanta, Georgia. And they talked about using nanotechnology. They talked about using the ability to wirelessly, know what's going on inside of someone's body and augmenting that, meaning being able to do something in effect. So wireless communication, right? We're talking about frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a shock to me. I also was a part of a group called A4M, which was a more holistic medical organization. But they started to get more into genetic modification, nanotechnology, all these things. And so I, again, happened to go to a meeting there that Craig Venter was speaking at. He's the father of human genomics. And then he was talking about the same thing. So this was being repeated in the conversations, and he was talking about how we can do genetic modification, we can do wireless communication between human bodies. And again, I was like, what is going on here? And so as time went on, like a lot of my colleagues, we were just pressured so much. I actually left the country. I went to the Dominican Republic for 6 years. And while I was there, I was thinking, what am I going to do with my life? Because I was getting death threats. And a lot of things were happening illegally. And also a lot of my colleagues died. That was in 2015 and 16. Erin Elizabeth did a report on that, but 60 to 100 doctors that were holistic died mysteriously during that time. And this was right before the COVID fiasco, right? So I was one of them. I had a warning, and I went to Dominican Republic for 6 years, and I sat there going, what was that about? Why am I still here, right? And that's when the COVID fiasco happened, the pandemic. I started to research what was this about, and I saw the word vaccine pop up right away. I'm like, let me look at what they want to do with the vaccine. I saw keywords in there. The nanolipid particles, really something called hydrogel, genetic modification. I knew exactly what was going on because this went back to 2015, 2013, and 14, when I went to these meetings, when I was discovering these things about the gain of function organisms, and I knew exactly what it was about. And I cried so hard, and I was quite depressed, actually. But then I had a righteous anger. I said, no, this cannot go on. And God didn't put me through all these things. I didn't have all these experiences for nothing. There has to be a reason for this. And so as I was thinking about this, literally a weight came off my shoulders, and I'm really close with God. I hear his voice. He said, now we can begin. And then I saw my life go like a movie reel in front of my eyes. And I saw all these key points of particularly my career, of why I went through them, because I was able to understand the plan. And so then I started to really dive down and research everything I could. And I started to warn some groups of people that I knew personally. And then it just kind of went viral from that point.
Right.
I didn't realize that other people really didn't know about these things. I thought surely other doctors would start speaking out, and they didn't. So I was one of the first to start speaking out about nanotechnology, the frequencies, all synthetic technology inside the human body, genetic modification. So that's how I kind of got onto everybody's radar, because I started speaking about this. And then I decided to move back to the United States because I still believe that this country has the ability to do something. I still believe in the people here, and I still believe that if we upheld our Constitution and we did what we were supposed to do as the people, because God gives us the unalienable rights, and then the Constitution, and the Constitution forms the government entities. It's not the other way around. So if we really held up to what we are supposed to do, well, we have an opportunity to stop something really horrible from happening. And we have the opportunity to start, really making a better world the way it should be. And so with my hope and faith, I came back to the United States, and I started to speak out more. And now that I felt like I really put the alarm out there, and then also after, I had more threats, and the plane crash happened, which was not It shouldn't have happened. Let's put it that way. It should not have happened. The plane crash was very strange. And all I can say is that it's obvious that something bigger than me was behind that. And I have to just be thankful to God for him protecting me, and he protected the pilot, and that I will go on from there, because only God decides when we go, not anybody else on this earth. And so I believe in that wholeheartedly, particularly after this incident. So now, what do you do with that bad information? I look for solutions. And so I was excited to know you and your company, because I was introduced to it by another company called EMFSOL.com, EMF Solutions. And so that's how we got introduced. And I'm excited to tell people about sound and how sound can heal our bodies.
So that's what I really wanted to segue in today. And there we are, because we have been alerted by you. And I think we have a great group of people today who are listening and who are very interested in any information that you can share with them on how to protect ourselves, because whatever we have in our bodies, are the EMFs affecting it, so these EMF products, and the WAVwatch has EMF ideas, and you have more ideas, I know. So can you share with us just any some step-by-step ideas on protecting ourselves from EMFs? I know I have a friend. Sorry, I kind of jumped in here again, but in the Kansas City area, I looked on a website and it said there were about 150 towers, 5G towers in my area. Yeah. Where somebody else that I know who lives in a smaller town has 500 towers in her area. And so I think we're all starting to be aware of this, maybe at different degrees. And maybe you can shed some light on any of these ideas from frequencies segueing into protecting ourselves from EMFs.
So going back to when I was going to these meetings, 2013 to 15, what was talked about is, okay, they want to spy into our bodies and being able to affect our bodies from a distance. This is government entities. How do they do that? Well, they need to have a certain bandwidth. Okay. So this 5G, even 6G that they want to roll out, this has nothing to do with making anything faster. And in fact, I'm sure most of us could testify, it doesn't make our devices go faster. It's not for that. It's to collect data. It's to collect data, you guys. It has nothing to do with anything being faster. Why do they need to collect all this data? They need to collect human data. Okay. So this is why it's out there. Is it healthy for our bodies? No way. This is it's very deleterious to human life, and they know this. And so we get sick when we're around it. It's really being radiated, in other words. Okay, we know that more cancers happen from this. Actually, Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt did an amazing study showing that the more Wi-Fi, microwave radio frequency radiation that the baby received in the womb, the more likely they had autism. Actually, that was a stronger predictor than even vaccines. Can you believe that? Also, we know that this is why the explosion of brain tumors are happening. Even the traditional doctor knows that if someone put their flip phone even in the bra, that was a big deal, I think, back in the day, they would have a tumor right there. The sperm count will be decreased by 50% within 15 minutes of putting your laptop on your lap directly without having like a pillow or something on there, for men, of course. And so this is well known. This is not new knowledge. When I came back to the United States, I was in Dominican Republic, more in the jungle. And so I was hit by the EMFs. I was so sick. I was so fatigued. I had headaches. I had even swelling in my body. I had rashes. That's radiation toxicity, because I wasn't used to it. My body didn't get acclimated to it, because you can get acclimated to a certain degree. So this is when I knew I was sick, and I tried all these different kinds of devices. I tried all these things, and they never worked that well until I was introduced by EMF Solutions, actually by Joni from Daystar. And so she recommended it. I talked to Corey, and so I started using a lot of the products that he has, and I vouch for them. I started to sleep better, no more headaches. I wasn't so fatigued. I could fly in an airplane, not get so exhausted. I didn't swell, didn't have rashes anymore. Hallelujah, right? But also I became more cautious about not having this device on me that's called a smartphone, right? It's not smart. And unplugging everything within 6 feet of the head of my bed. You don't need to I have a regular alarm clock. Wow, imagine that. I don't have a smartphone to wake me up. Just different things like that. Protect my home or where I'm sleeping. Where you're sleeping is the most important area. And just so people know about frequencies, sound waves. So there was a great study done by Russia, Italy, and Central Michigan University, my alma mater, where actually they looked at a certain frequency. This frequency, when it hits the human skin cell, it'll vibrate and it will disrupt the DNA so much that it spits out an abnormal, a broken form of the DNA. And it actually looks exactly like what supposedly is the virus of COVID, supposedly. And so it proves that a frequency can cause what they're telling us is a virus. So viruses are, in my opinion, induced. They're not a true thing that you catch in the environment. It is a frequency, a frequency. So knowing there's bad frequencies that make us sick, well, of course, there's good frequencies that make us well, right? So we produce a frequency, our human body. We have electromagnetic frequency that goes out in a toroidal field. It goes out about 6 feet. Our heart makes the bulk of it. Hallelujah, And so the average person that doesn't even know what they're doing, they're making this amazing, beautiful toroidal field. And that's why they wanted us to stay 6 feet apart from each other. I think maybe that's why they have 6 feet under the ground. There's a reason for 6 feet. So we interact without even talking to each other. They didn't want us to come together. So if you know that you're making a good frequency, and this can outdo any negative frequency, it actually is a plasma field that comes out from our body. It's the fourth state of matter. So, which I could go on and on about this. I get so excited about quantum physics, actually. So I know we don't have a lot of time about that. But I love that, and I love it. So anyway, we put out this frequency. So when they have something that is a deleterious frequency, it's interacting with us. It causes illness. So it's giving a communication to this toroidal field of ours that we don't even know what's happening. It's giving messages to the body, and it's confusing the body. It will tell the heart, it will disrupt the electrical conduction of the heart. You get palpitations, right? It will disrupt the electrical conduction to your brain, depression, anxiety. They could even put voices in the head. Wow, think about that. So these thoughts that are coming in your head are not even from you. They could do things where, your digestive tract can't even work well. So these are just things that can happen. So now we know. So what do we do? Oh, we can work on our own. Okay. I love praying and singing our own songs and listening to good music. That's wonderful. Connecting with nature, being barefoot outside. Again, you are going to strengthen that healthy toroidal field just like God made us. But, if they're using technology against us, we can use technology for us. And I love that. So, I always tell people, I'm not against technology. I just am against the intention behind it. So, I love pulsed electromagnetic frequency, which is like a beamer pad, something like that, where it's actually inducing the small vasculature, your microcirculation, which is 75% of your blood flow. So it's improving 75% of your blood flow. You get more blood flow, you get better healing in your whole body. Your kidneys work better, your heart works better, your brain works better, on and on and on. And then also knowing that if we understood how sound, even our voice, can make healing, or it can make something, or sound could actually make us sick. So people can analyze the voice. By the voice analysis, they can tell you so many things about your body. They can tell you if you have cancer. They can tell you if you have a cardiac issue. They can tell you if you have an infection in your body. Each bacteria, each fungus, everything makes its own song, its own frequency. You and I and everybody else, we make our own song. In fact, our DNA are like antenna. So it makes its own frequency, but yet it picks up on the frequencies around it. So we were never taught about our electromagnetic frequency, our biofield around us, which is actually a body part of our bodies. And so it's been ignored. But if we understood it, wow, we can heal of so many different things. We can know that a thought is actually it actually makes a frequency. Wow, a thought actually makes a frequency. Our words, when we speak, make a frequency. It's called cymatics, right? And you can actually form a crystalline structure. Water is, we are mostly water. All life is water. Water is miraculous. It makes different crystalline structures depending on intention and word and thought, where it comes from. So we can take, like Dr. Masaru Emoto's, we can take water, which is even in our body or some around us, and we can say a word, speak a word, write a word. And especially with intention, you can change that crystalline structure. This is what the Bible's been talking about. This is what God has been trying to tell us. In the beginning was the Word was God, and the Word, the Word was with God and is God, right? And so we are created in His image. We are to do the same thing. We are to speak life, not death. There's life and death in the tongue. We are to do this with our whole heart, the intention. And this is how I believe miracles happen, because we're not just on a physical level now. Yeah, we're going to that fifth dimension, well, fourth, which is plasma, but even getting to the fifth dimension, which is spiritual. And so when we understand this, a whole new world opens up. We don't need to have fear anymore. But let's go back to the technology, right? Sound, we can and analyze what's going on, but then you can use sound to then heal, to correct with resonance. So resonance is like when you harmonize with something around you. So if you walk into a room and you're like, ooh, I don't feel so good, you're not in resonance with that room, right? It's disruptive to what you're feeling. But then you walk around someone, oh, like Linda, I have resonance with her. I feel good. I'm like, I want to be around her. It makes me feel better, right? So that's called resonance. So when we're around something healthy, there's resonance, but we can speak it too. So not everybody understands this, but that's where we have technology that can help us. So what I love about this WAVwatch, which I was introduced by a woman, Kathy, who is EMF Soul, she met her for lunch. And she says, hey, you want to try this watch? I'm like, sure, why not? And so I'll have to tell you this. She said, whatever you want to pick, there's like 1,000 different, headings there. And it happened just to be on love. There's a frequency of love. So I put this on my wrist, and I don't know. I just like, woo, so amazing. It was outside, and I'm like, what is this thing? I've got to have it. So it was just like the perfect moment. But I was also, it was a nice resonance with the people that I was having lunch with too. And so I'm like, gosh, I really want to know more about this, because I understood that sound heals. And so you were, so gracious when I contacted your company. You're like, yeah, just try it out. And so I have been using it and been so happy with the results, and that it's just sound. It's listening to music in a way. Mm-hmm. And also that you have a setting, and I'm going to do it, where you can tape your own voice, record your own voice, or record something and play it back. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of somebody saying, oh, that's the Dale Carnegie course, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People. The sweetest sound that anyone ever hears is their own voice, right? Or not their own voice, their own name, I should say. But there's something to that, right? But singing a song, or having a child sing a song and you hear it back, whew, that just is a healing kind of thing. But anyhow, everything has a resonance. We know this by Rife Technology, Dr. Masaru Emoto, many other inventors. So, we need to start bringing that back. And why haven't you heard about this? Well, because these inventors have persecuted. They've been jailed. Their technologies have been destroyed. So this is why we're reinventing the wheel almost again, knowing about sound. So this is what's so exciting.
And you just described the WAVwatch exactly, with all the sounds, and these are harmonious sounds. They're acoustical. So they're from 20 to 20,000. And the frequencies that you talked about that were harmful, where would you put them on the scale? They're in the, megahertz and, 5G and that kind of thing. It's not our voices that are dangerous, right?
No, that's right. Not our voices.
Definitely verify so that people don't be afraid of frequencies. We are talking about acoustical frequencies.
Yes, that's correct. we are humans. We were created out of love. We are created in God's image. So no, we don't make bad frequencies. Now we could speak something in anger or speak, life and death in the tongue. And now that we have control over that though.
Yes.
That's our control. But when things are used purposely against us, sound has been used against us as a weapon for a long time. There was, I believe it's called the Woodpecker Project, where Russia and the United States had been using as military offenses against each other, a sound wave. And it was on a frequency that was so low that you can't audibly hear it, but it's still there. I think there's 4 hertz that's been going around the world, which is not a good hertz, but this is purposely induced upon humans to get us to not feel well. Again, we have the ability to overcome all of this once we are educated and we know about it. Well, now we can do other things. But, ancient cultures use sound and color and light to heal. And so I think we need to go back to doing that again, singing our own songs, not just listening to a radio. You sing your own song, there's a resonance that is created. It is a healing effect on it. When we talk to each other and we're close to each other, there's a healing effect there. There's so many things that we can do when you ground yourself on the earth with bare feet. Oh my gosh, there is a detoxification that goes on. You're charging in a good way your body. When you're by the ocean, there's a negative ions that go out that is healing to the body. Sunlight, take off the sunglasses, put sunlight on your skin. Don't use sunscreen because our bodies crave the light. It's like keeping a plant away from the sun. We need that. Of course, you don't want to burn, but you'd still need sunlight for circadian rhythms to make the neuropeptides in your body, to make different hormones. I mean, we need that. God created all these things for us. And so we need to understand that and to know who we are and what we are, because going forward, this is what is going to save us and heal us. And I think this is part of the new paradigm of people understanding this. And, traditional medicine has its place. I was in a plane crash. I needed them. I couldn't just do it by sound. I need someone to put my bones back together.
That's right.
We have a place for it, but it's not, it's overused and abused. And we have to know what is happening and how we can protect ourselves. If we start learning how to live properly, live healthy, live together, we are communal, we are social, we're supposed to be together, and know that 90% of our genetics is not from our genome. I'll say that again, 90% of our genetics does not come from our genome. We have the smallest genome of almost all the animals on the planet, true. But we have the most genes because each of us have our own universe. We have the microbiome, all the bacteria, even the parasites, yeast, fungus that live on us and in us. Without them, we would die. They are our immune system. They actually pick up on different things. So again, you have resonance with these microbiomes and the microbiomes of the earth. So germs are good. You're supposed to hug and kiss and get dirty and all these things. We are supposed to be connected to everything. And it forms a beautiful symphony when we're connected with everything. But when you take one instrument out of the symphony, it doesn't sound as good. It's not as beautiful, right? Or if one is out of tune, let's say if one instrument isn't in tune and you're like, I can hear that one, it's disruptive. So this is about that sound that we put out and what does that sound form? Again, if you look at cymatics, that's just fascinating to me. When you're looking at how a certain sound will make a certain pattern, another sound will make another pattern. Or if you look at something that's really polluted and toxic and chaotic, it makes no pattern. Dr. Masaru Emoto actually showed this in his work where, polluted water or someone saying, you make me sick, yes. I hate you. It has the most disruptive, horrible, it doesn't even have a pattern. There's no pattern at all. It's just a mess, right? And so I think that we could all testify to that. I can, when you think a horrible thought or you hear something and I don't feel good, or if I got mad and I said something I shouldn't have said, I feel awful, even if I was right. I'm not really right. Or if you hear really disruptive, some radio music it's not really healing, it makes you not feel good. So yeah, it's amazing about sound and frequency.
And I just love that you've tied everything in together because we know we have to have the right sounds. We have to hum. Our body sounds are the best sounds, you know. I won't forget that when I started developing the WAVwatch, I saw a study for breast cancer problems. And a couple of ladies were taught to hum a sound for about 3.5 hours a day
Yeah.
for a month, or excuse me, 3 months. And then when they went back, their testing was amazing. And one had the lump completely gone, and the other one was, you know, they went ahead and did surgery, but it was not even there. It was amazing recovery. And that was just from humming a sound. Well, I can hum, but I really can't hum for 3.5 hours a day for 3 months, you know? So that's the whole idea about the WaveWatch is that we can provide some of our own humming songs. And just like you say, maybe some of you would like to, make a recording so you have your voice or someone else humming. Just amazing things that we can do with sound, you know?
I
So,
find that it actually helps remind myself of that, because we get so busy in our day and I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not thinking the right things too. It helps me
yeah,
remember. And then also it's a great conversation piece to tell people about, like how the power of sound, the power of frequency. And we know that, people's, personalities lead up into having their disease states. Cardiac issues, people with unforgiveness and this anger, if they can't get rid of it, they usually get cardiac issues. There's lots of studies to prove this. Norman Vincent Peale, there's a really good book with Carolyn Myss, MYSS. She has medical intuitive. She actually they studied with great research showing how personality types lead to certain disease states.
yes.
So we have to watch how we think and feel. We create the illness, because when we're thinking and feeling, again, that puts out a different resonance, a different frequency, a different sound. And the body will create based on what we're thinking and feeling and saying. Oh my gosh, you just think about that, right? It brings the Bible alive even more. I get chills thinking about it because it's in the word. It's right there. They told, God's been trying to tell us this. And then knowing that we're all connected. This is how quantum physics plays a part, where instantaneously we can affect somebody across time and space because of quantum physics, So we can do this. We speak and we think and we pray. And we know this because there have been amazing research studies, irrefutable, showing how you can pray for someone you don't even know, and it actually works. And actually, there's an Israeli scientist that did a great study looking at retrospective praying, meaning people unknowingly were praying for groups of people that were sick in the past, and they did it randomized, blind, placebo, but retrospective, people that were sick in the past. And they looked at it, and believe it or not, these people that they prayed for had better outcomes, but in the past. So prayer goes outside of time and space, because time and space, I love quantum physics.
Yeah, that one's
Malleable. Time is malleable, and time only exists in this realm. Okay, you get outside of this realm and you enter another dimension, or you add another dimension, it actually is changeable, because time is related to physical properties like mass. So if depending on the altitude, time changes. If you go east, fly east, or you fly west, time changes. How fast you go, time changes. Time is not constant, you guys. So the point is, you can, and I can, we can actually, when we pray, we go into another state, the fourth state, the fifth state, the fifth dimension, let's say, we're actually going outside of time space. And this was an amazing research study by this Israeli scientist looking at, we could actually retrospectively be praying for things. So I know this sounds really crazy to people, but think about it. If you look into quantum physics, yeah, it's absolutely possible. Because only right now is happening, but it right now is connected to the past and the future. I mean, we were never taught the proper science. We were never taught who and what we are. And I think that we had to go through these traumas we're going through now to open up the abilities to understand who and what we are and what we can do, because it's quite fascinating. And I know it's hard to imagine all these things if you're never taught it, but let me just tell people one thing to get themselves outside of just the two-dimensional world that most of us live in. So you and I learned that triangles make 180 degrees, all the angles, you add them up all the time. It's always 180 degrees, always, always, always. But that's planar two-dimensional geometry. Now, let's say someone told you to go out in a big, big field and there's a big triangle, measure that triangle. And then you and your friends go and you're confused. You come back, you're like, it's 183 degrees. We did it over and over again. How is this possible? This goes against all of our scientific knowledge. It's because you added another dimension because it's curvature or convexity. And now you added a third dimension. It's no longer two-dimensional, it's three-dimensional. So the point of that is that once you add a new dimension, you enter a new dimension, all the rules change.
I'm just kind of taking a deep breath here, trying to take in all of this. It's amazing, Carrie. Thank you so much for sharing so many ideas. Yeah. And I just think it's so enlightening for people because just like you said, we have missed so much in our education. And I like ancient studies, studying ancient people and trying to figure out, well, they tell us one thing that they know about them, but do they know everything? We're missing a whole bunch that ancient people did know. And so, of course, I've been really fascinated about how they use sound, and how we can apply their use of sound. So, but you've just added dimensions and time and space. And so, wow.
Yeah, I just, want to put it out there because we need to start thinking in that manner because the evil people out there do know this and they're using it against us. So it's way past time for us to learn this. Again, CERN, which is out in Switzerland, they're using all of this against us. They know about what I'm just talking about way more. And so we can't be ignorant anymore about real science. We can't be ignorant about who and what we are anymore. We need to wake up to that. But the great thing is once you do, you're going to see that you are something so much greater than you ever thought you could be. So this is when I get excited like a little child. I'm like, wow, this is where it says we can't enter the kingdom of heaven except to be like little children again. And I think it's this wonderment, this openness, this excitement about life. I think that's what Jesus Christ was talking about. Because only the children can understand this, but the adults have a hard time. But they understand. They're like, yeah, let's go sing. Remember when you're a kid, you sing everything. Everything's a song. Mm-hmm. We stopped singing. We need to start singing again. But yeah, I've used your WAVwatch when I was overseas. I normally don't get, but I had, eating weird on the plane and all this. And I had horrible, urinary symptoms, like, oh dear, what am I going to do? And I remembered, going through all the programs of anything urinary tract, even, possible kidney stones. And I'll tell you that I was impressed. I took nothing for this, but I remember seeing a lot of debris in my urine, so something was being broken up and then it just went away. Wow, that was amazing. I did a lot of detoxing. Usually I would feel really a lot of jet lag. I was fine. I really didn't have a problem with jet lag so much, not at all like I normally would have. I had a lot of leg pain because my leg, I had surgery on this leg. And so there's a lot of swelling. So I ran different programs for pain and then the swelling. And it was improving as I was walking through the airport. And I can tell you that normally would not happen for me. It would take me a couple days for that to go away. And actually, we can get hit with frequencies. I went to an area where I didn't have any of this EMF protection and I started to have horrible anxiety. And I'm like, why am I having this? And I remembered, maybe it's the frequencies because I didn't know why I was having this, right? And so I remembered to run some of the programs here on the WAVwatch. And I'm telling you, it was very quick for me where I'm like, this is actually working. Anxiety's getting better. Yeah. And then you have other programs that are for chronic issues, and you may not see that result so fast. These are just some examples. I was kind of testing and tuning on myself, no pun intended, to see if I could see a difference quickly with it, right? But not everything do you see something quickly, but those are some good examples that I had that I'm like, yeah, this is working.
And we have had several testimonies that anxiety does really relate to EMFs, so if they play the EMF detox or radiation detox, their anxiety seems to go away or lessen, things like that. So our emotions are so tied to frequencies, good or bad ones,
Yeah.
and we need to be learning that. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, I think we have a few minutes left. If we have some questions out there, I know we do, but I think they've kind of been combing through them. Is there anything, Joseph, that we could work with, or does anybody have a question or two?
Or they can type them into the chat. I know
Let's
I can
see.
see it, but you can probably see it. Huh?
And we've had 5 people behind the scenes helping us out, answering questions. So we have Tom and Terry Newell from Oregon, who have been online helping. And then we have John and Joseph Bamber from the Nashville, Dayton, Tennessee area that have been answering questions too. So, all right. So I think we can see the settings on the screen. Yeah, that works easy.
You can see parasites. Yes, I'm a big one about parasites. We all have parasites, everybody. So everybody needs to be doing a detox. I used to treat people with 2 weeks of mebendazole and 1 day of biltricide praziquantel for all the parasites. That was necessary. The medicines used to work wonderfully. Then they changed the composition of them, you guys, and they don't work as well. So, people are using ivermectin now, but you have to get to the biofilm in the body, which is a sticky glue inside the gut wall. And so this is where you need to, I like diatomaceous earth, taking a little bit in food grade and some water and drinking that. Charcoal is really good. I know enemas, not everybody wants to hear that, but that works well too. But then the parasites make their own frequencies, right? So you can actually diagnose by a frequency. You can actually, if you're picking up on the resonance of the body, the different frequencies, you can diagnose which ones you have. But then you use the resonance, the frequency against it. So then you look at the parasites, they have certain frequencies and you're making a resonance, but you can go, I call it 1 octave higher, and it actually explodes the parasites without hurting anything else around you. And that's like a lady singing really high. So an opera singer singing really high, she makes resonance with the glass and goes 1 octave higher, and boom, the glass breaks, but you're fine, right? And that's what you're doing with this. So yes, parasites are there and everybody has them. There's no border patrol for parasites in the United States, like they tried to teach doctors. They tried to say, if you went to Mexico, you have them, but if you're in Texas, you don't. It's not true. Yeah.
I think we had a question. What frequency did you use for the UTIs?
Oh, well, I just ran pretty much all the urinary programs. I was just running them continuously. I was doing whatever. And so all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I used the restroom twice, I urinated. And I was able to urinate a lot because I had urinary retention. And there's a lot of debris, it's like cloudy. And if there's little bubbles, it's protein coming out too. So I realized that it was probably actually so much debris, probably there was almost maybe a stone forming and probably some bacteria with that. So then it went away totally. My urine was completely clear after that. So I didn't know exactly what was going on. I just knew I had some urinary retention. I had some discomfort and that was not good. And so then either I would guess there's probably some bacteria. When you have a bacteria pooling, then you can get crystals forming. Crystals forming over time can form little stones. So that's why I think you should run programs for urinary tract infections, as well as possible any stones or anything like that if you're having symptoms. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. And again, remember, it doesn't hurt to play more than one program. It might not be the one that's labeled exactly what you think you have. And so you play all of them in that category. I've kind of made you a playlist so that hopefully it will cover more. Yeah. All right. Do we have another question? We could put up on the screen here so that Carrie doesn't have to look for them.
Yeah. I'm just looking through here. So quantum entanglement, there's so much to go over with the quantum physics. It's exciting, but knowing that we ourselves, who we are and what we are, right? This resonance around us, this frequency is amazing. But we're so busy, we can't always think about this I can't. I mean, I get lost in the day-to-day stuff. It's really crazy out there. That's why it's nice to have the watch, you know. And I really like it because even when I show people, they may not understand it at first when I show them, but it reminds me to talk to them about it. And repetition is the mother of all knowledge, right? So it's really talking to people about how frequencies make us sick, how can they heal us? And just so you know, in the 5G towers, if you open up these panels, they have, you know, gamma and delta and all these different frequencies. Isn't that weird that COVID had different, you know, different subsets or gamma and delta? I don't think that's by accident, you guys. So, yeah.
Wow. Someone asked about shingles, and there are frequency for shingles. It's called herpes zoster in the virus folder, if that would be helpful. There it is. It just popped up. Is there a frequency for shingles? 3 herpes zoster frequencies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just actually answer somebody. So just our skin and our tongue and all that and our nails, they are a reflection of the digestive tract. So anything, even shingles and all that, you have to look at the digestive tract. Over 90% of all disease come from the gut. Over 90% of all disease comes from the gut. So with the physical reasons, not the, you know, our mental, spiritual. So just remember that. So if I look at the skin, I know what's going on. If you have really dry skin, you're not absorbing your fatty acids. If your tongue is enlarged, you have low B vitamins, and usually you have too much fungal growth. The white coating, you absolutely have too much fungal growth. Cracks on your tongue, you have not enough hydrochloric acid. You don't have enough acid in your gut to break down your nutrients. You know, there's all different kinds of things. Once you can learn this on your own. I love teaching people because then, you know, you're supposed to take this information that we have, and once you understand it, you tell your friends, and then they tell their friends. That's what we're supposed to do. We should focus our time not so much on trying to be healthy. It should be easy, really. That's the way God designed our bodies. So it's up to us to do this. So everything you learn, please share with people and know that. But yeah, you know, anything, you know, pimples on the face, especially this area, there's, it's not really hormonal so much. A lot of times it's looking at the oral cavity or the digestive tract because that actually affects hormones. So people with menopause, people with, you know, the hormonal imbalances, the teenagers and things like that, actually all the symptoms are not necessary. The symptoms come from, you know, yes, your hormones are increasing, but also there's so much inflammation, usually in the digestive tract, that it's actually altering the liver function, which is creating different hormones, right? Which is making a hormonal imbalance. So just know that always pay attention to your digestive tract. It is the most important thing that almost nobody I know has a good, healthy digestive tract. We all need to work on that. So, yeah. And let's see what else here. I think people are asking about specific frequencies, which I think that is, that's for them to look and maybe ask questions with your company here.
And someone is asking, do you do anything else for the EMF frequencies? You did mention that company, and you might mention it again because they connected us. I love to advertise for them also. We need that.
EMFSOL.com. EMFSOL.com. EMF Solutions. And Corey, I've known him for years. I can tell you that I tried so many different companies. It's the only one. It's all from natural sources, and he compresses them into like a resin, and you could wear it as a wristband. I have plug-in units. I have one for my whole home. And it helps a lot when I travel, you know, wearing a band, going through the radiation, you know, with your TSA agents, you have to go through all these different radiation panels, and I call them radiation panels. That's what they are. And then also on the plane, it's like a tin can. You're getting radiated. So if I wear that, and I also have a plug-in unit for my hotel, I do great. Also in the car, if you have an electric car, wow, you're getting massively radiated. But there are products they have you can put in your car that will help mitigate that, remediate that, they call that. So I highly recommend looking at that. He's got actual studies to show how it protects the human cell because it calms something called the subatomic chaos. Again, bad frequencies make us vibrate in a bad way. So then what it does is it harmonizes the body so that these these frequencies that come in no longer cause this chaotic disruption.
Yeah.
So that's how that works too.
So someone did have a question about maybe your favorite frequency. I might guess love, but I don't know.
Well, since it happened to be on that frequency, and love is my favorite frequency. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love love.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to look through all these, but.
And I think I'm supposed to be announcing this now. We have one lucky attendee who will win a free WAVwatch. So please follow us at WAVwatch on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X, and follow. Is this Carrie Madej? Either of those that are provided, follow us, and then comment in the chat your favorite takeaway from the webinar. And we're going to randomly pick a comment from a person who will be the winner. So I hope that's all I'm supposed to be reading. Does that give you enough information?
Yeah. Don't you have some added values if people purchase more
yes,
than one watch?
Are those coming up? And we have another special. Let's see, where's that? See, Joseph, can you put the special up on? Maybe I'm supposed, there we go. All right, so there it was. I had to click the buttons right. So today you're going to get $100 off using Carrie's code. Just type in Carrie as a discount code, and free shipping also. We're going all out for you. And if you buy 2 watches, we're going to give an extra discount of $250. And if you buy 3 watches, we'll give an extra discount of $500 for this next week through Memorial Day. And so we want you to really put Carrie's code to work if that's of interest to you, because she is a frequencies fan. And, I use the word fanatic sometimes. Some of my people are thrilled to have the WAVwatch, be in the WAVwatch fanatics group, because we get where we are so interested in them. And you've just given us more and more information today, Carrie, about frequencies. And it's just amazing. And we just, again, want to thank you.
Yeah.
Let me go over that again. If you're interested, 1 watch today and this whole week for Memorial Weekend, through Memorial Weekend, you can make sure you use Carrie's code and you'll get $100 off. You buy 2 WAVwatches, you can get $250 off. Again, use Carrie's code. And if you buy 3, you get $500 off. Again, don't forget to use Carrie's code. So just CARRIE. It can't get any easier than that, can it? So.
Yeah, so I enjoy talking with you, because you actually are great going into all these different topics like quantum physics and frequency. So they're some of my favorites. So I really enjoy this conversation. And
you have a compliment. This is self-mastery for sure. That's what we're trying to work on, is help ourselves, Perfect.
Yes. So actually, Valerie Jolie, she was the random comment who is selected to win the free WAVwatch. So congrats to you. That's why I put it. And she also had a great comment as well. So, but yeah, lots of amazing feedback and really good interaction. Thank you both so much. You did a wonderful job. And congrats to Valerie. So she's the winner. Valerie, you can email sales@wavwatch.com or joseph@wavwatch.com with your address, and we'll get you your free watch.
And I know we couldn't begin to answer all of the questions, and I would try to read some of them, then they just flash through, But we just really appreciate your help, and we've had 4 people answering questions the whole time. So hopefully we got through quite a few of them. But thank you for your time today. Is there anything else we need to go over, Joseph? Or Carrie, I'd maybe like to give you a couple minutes if you'd like to, closing thoughts.
Yeah. Well, just letting people know that I understand how depressing these things can get. Believe me, I know, because looking at these things under the microscope really got to me. However, I can tell you that I have this amazing hope, love, and faith that emanates from me. And I know it's not from my human self. It comes from our Creator in heaven. And I know He's got great plans for us. But we're also going through a training lesson, aren't we? Iron sharpens iron, and we're being refined through the fiery trials that we go through, like silver or gold in our Creator's hands. And just know that we're learning how to be the guardians and caretakers of this realm, this planet. So look at it in that way. When you change the perspective, it gets more exciting, right? It's not so depressing. So it's all the lens that we look at it through. So don't be the victim. Like someone said, be the self, we're masters, but we still have to answer to our Creator, right? As are God's laws. But we don't need to be the victims. Again, we are the ones where God gave us the unalienable rights. Okay, so what do? We start looking at the ways who and what we are. We start understanding that, and we start implementing it. We start taking action. And so I encourage everybody to remember that. Encourage negative thoughts are never from our Creator Father in heaven. They're not even from us. So rebuke them, and also know that, be around people that are more positive, or, even if you need to use a technology to help you through it, that's okay, because technology is not bad. It's the intention behind it. So I'm just so grateful that so many people are listening to this kind of conversation. It just lifts me up, and I love it. So thank you for having me. It's been my honor and my duty.
Oh, thank you so much. And we have it posted. It was live today, and it will be obviously posted on several areas. So share them with all your family and friends. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks, Carrie. It was amazing.
Thank you.